Hello folks, Andy here, hopefully you're all well. It's just going to be a short one today, we'll call it maybe a bonus video, but I started recording this a few weeks ago, getting my bike ready for the season. What I'm going to show is the interim service I do on my bikes. I've got probably 2 bikes that need this every 6 months or so, put a lot of miles on them throughout the year. I need to know that everything's running as well as it can be, not seized up, and that there aren't parts that need replacing or anything like that. As we go through, there is one thing that anybody can do, and this isn't just to keep people watching, but a screwdriver, 1 second, could save you quite a few quid. And it caught me out last year. Cost me a couple £100, a job that takes 1 second. As ultra cyclists, we end up in some pretty remote places, quite far from home. So this kind of work is actually really easy to do. I taught myself from scratch, basically using guides online. Park Tool have a lot of references that you can use, but a modern road bike, it's not that difficult to service. I just forked out a few quid for a basic tool set from Wiggle, you won't get that anymore, and a torque wrench, so I can make sure that all the carbon stuff is torqued down correctly. But once you've got those tools, it's really not that difficult. Maybe a couple of hours of work, but save yourself quite a lot of money in the long run. But learning how your bike works and what it's actually built up from is pretty essential stuff anyway. So obviously bike mechanics have their place. I'm not saying don't ever go to a mechanic or that mechanics aren't worth the money you pay them. But I don't think that this kind of work should be hidden behind a shroud. And if you've got a mechanical mind and you're interested in seeing how things work, then I think give it a go. As an example, I've got a wheel right now that's out with a mate of mine who's a mechanic. He's building it up for me with a dynamo hub. That's something I'm not really that confident doing, and for the sake of 40-50 quid, I'll let him do that because he's qualified to do it, he's done loads of wheels. But stripping a bike down, rebuilding it, I don't find that intimidating really. So if you're interested, you're slightly mechanically minded, and you've got a bit of time, then what I'm about to show you is not very difficult, so I say give it a go. I will say, you do learn from your mistakes quite often. But plenty of times where I've been working on my bike, something's gone wrong, and I get that feeling of dread inside that I've just wrecked my bike. Almost every time, it's just a case of going online, doing a bit of research, learning what went wrong there, and just putting it right. It's really rare I've had to buy parts because I've ruined them. So obviously do this at your own risk, but if you're doing it for each bike every 6 months or so, beginning and the end of the season, it might save you quite a few quid. And if you do get stuck, send me a message. I'm sure I can point you in the direction of the Park Tool guides or something like that. They've been really useful for me. But there's YouTube, Google, you can generally find out how to do most things online. So anyway, enough waffle from me. I'll show you what I did. Any questions, put them in the comments. I'll reply to them all. I'll see you all soon. Have a good one. Oh dear. So on these calipers, on all disc calipers, there's a retaining screw. And if you don't keep that screw moving, it will seize. Before I rode All Points North last year, I was doing these checks fairly late, found that the screws had seized, did my best to get them off, and the heads just came straight off. The result was, there's no way to replace the pads, there's no way to make it safe. The mechanics that do the checks will reject the bike for sure. So I had to get new calipers just because of those tiny screws. Now if you get a small screwdriver, keep those screws moving, keep them turning, just check them every few weeks. Crack it open, tighten back up, doesn't need to be tight. But if you don't keep them moving, they will seize.